Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything, but mostly just the stuff we like. If there's one thing in this world that can unite us as quickly as it divides us, aside from opinions on Star Wars movies beyond the OG trilogy, it's music. Those sweet sounds to soothe the savage beast in all of us, or to help us rage against whatever particular machine we happen to be facing. So once again, we have challenged each other to listen to an album and report back on our particular idiotic findings. That's right, it's another installment of Album One-on-One in this episode 82, Stone Temple Pilots versus Aerosmith. My name is Todd, and with me, as always, is the man who once rushed the stage at a concert and let loose with one of the most beautiful stage dives you've ever seen, until he realized it was a Neil Diamond show and ain't nobody catching him. He has been a member of the Church of Idiocy his entire life and my partner in idiocy for over 2 decades and counting. I give you the man they call Tim.
Greetings and salutations, my friend. How are you?
You know, I'm doing well. And yourself, sir?
I'm doing well, although I will admit my trick knee is slightly due to that stage dive you referenced. So.
You have a trick knee? What does it do? Roll over? Beg?
Kind of.
Mostly it just plays dead because he's over 40.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Death stalks you at every turn.
Try the veal. Okay.
Ah, yes.
Well, folks, I do have to make a bit of a programming announcement. If things sound a little bit different, we are back recording at Free Range Idiocy HQ. It's somewhat good to be back. The irony is that we are now at that portion of the year where you start noticing all of the things after you've moved into an office space, and then you realize you forget something as a season has changed. Realizing now that there's a malfunction in the heating unit here at Free Range Idiocy headquarters.
Is Patrick on that one?
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about giving him a pair of pliers and a set of wrenches and telling him to just go. Because the problem is, apparently, now, and I know that this happens for a fact because it happened at our house when our furnace was malfunctioning. You can actually have a heating system that it gets too cold for the heating system to turn on, or to not function properly. Mm-hmm. Have you ever experienced this in one of your homes?
No, I have not.
I don't recommend it. I do not recommend it. It's not what you want as a positive feature. So we've hit that portion of the year where it gets cold enough that now the heat kicks off. And it kicks off because now it gets dark here in Maine at about 2:15 in the afternoon. It starts getting cold about mid-afternoon. And by the time I showed up to record, I realized the heat wasn't working anymore. So now we're slowly dipping down, and about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, it'll finally warm up enough to start in. And by that point, it'll be, I'll see my breath in here. So it's going to be awesome. If if my teeth are chattering by the end of this, I apologize to everybody. I'll try and use a little noise reduction to knock that down. But yeah, it's been this way for a little while. I am on the verge of just giving Patrick the toolbox and seeing what he can do. I
put his fire skills to good use for once.
Well, the thing is, that's probably the one thing that he couldn't set on fire. That would just my luck. That would be just my luck.
Dear.
Well, before we get into our main subject, of course, we like to do a little thing we call the Week in Geek. This is all a little news items, not quite good enough or a big enough deal for a show unto itself. However, they do bear mentioning and do bear some talking about, some mulling, or as Tim would probably say, some mullinating or mullating or mulletating. I don't know, whatever. But
Marinating?
This is... Yeah, maybe that too. The Week in Geek.
Thank you, sir. Well, as is our custom over the last few weeks here, we will dive right into what everyone has been waiting to hear about. Week 11 fantasy football results.
Ain't nobody waiting on this.
Yes.
You are an eternal optimist if you actually think that's the case, but
I'm
go ahead
having
anyway.
a fantastic season, and so I'm just giddy to chat about it.
You're just giddy because your whole season hasn't gone by the wayside after Derrick Henry got hurt. You're just so excited that hasn't fallen apart on you
Absolutely. Yet. I am showing my coaching prowess. My team has been performing and overperforming.
You giving him a pep talk at halftime?
That's right. I have the old fedora on, and just give him a little pep talk, and it's all good.
Who are you kidding? You've got the Bill Belichick sweats, and they're pulled up like just under your armpits.
I can't argue with that. I am
like
one to wear the sweats.
old man level like waistline, where it's like, it seems like the waist disappears, and it just, all of a sudden the pants are right up under the nipples.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so time out. I gotta tell you this. We were watching a championship football game the other day, high school championship football game, and one of the referees, God love him, he had on his ref pants, and they were about an inch and a half below his nipples. There was barely any striped shirt showing.
Oh my gosh!
I'm pretty sure he had his whistle tucked into the front of his pants. And I turned to the person who was with me. I was like, just because those pants go up that high doesn't mean they should go up that high.
Oh no.
It's awesome. Like, first of all, it's not a good look. Second of all, you've got to have a wedge that you're never getting out. Yeah. Like, ever.
Oh, no.
Anyways, but as you were saying, sir, sorry.
Well, no, that's fine. Week 11 of the 2021 campaign, as we have called it here. And let's just dive right in.
Called it here.
What's that? I'm sorry?
As you have called it here. I'm
yes.
not calling it that.
I understand. Well, we'll start in, first with Uncle Todd, who eked a 1-point victory. It was a close one. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen. 221 to 220.
Yeah, and that was quite a bit on me because I did have I sat what's his face, Devonta Adams, who went off for like 30 points because he was questionable, and I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good about the rest of my lineup. I'll throw someone else in. Yeah, that didn't work so well.
But how about your running backs, man? I mean, for crying out loud, Jonathan Taylor, 84 fantasy points, man.
That was unreal. 4 rushing touchdowns, 185 yards, 32 attempts. Oh, my goodness. And made Dalvin Cook look pedestrian by comparison. Dalvin Cook had 43 points. Nothing to sneeze at. No. But on this week, it was a very much to sneeze at. So, yeah, I've managed to pull myself up above 500 for, I think it might be the first time this season since game 1.
Very nice.
That might be it. And now in sole possession of 4th place. Sole possession. And that might sound like, it's 8 teams, you're in 4th place. For me, that's a lot to celebrate because I thought for sure I was going to end up in 7th place. Just that was going to happen. But there's still time, though. There's
you were
still
at one
time.
point in 7th place, and then there was a question of whether the cellar dwellers were going to catch you.
Which I would have put some money on that, honestly.
Which, by the way,
odds.
I still need to log into that account and get Cam Newton out of there. The cellar dwellers posted 92 fantasy points, 16 of which came from Nick Folk. So I got to do some switching up of the kicker and the quarterback.
I got to see if I can trade for Nick Folk. I mean, can you hook a brother up? That's some good points for a kicker.
Goodness. I mean, talk about consistency out of a kicker. This guy's been putting up double digits all season long. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get that kind of point production. But anyway, how was your week? You also had 221 points.
I did. We tied for most points in the league for the week and came out with a dominating performance. All my players were performing at or above where they should have, -2. 2 of my wide receivers kind of were duds. But my running backs came through, one of them being a traditional starter, Nick Chubb, who recently has come off the COVID wagon. And then I had I think it was a Baltimore running back as a backup who actually had quite a day. So that was refreshing to see. I wasn't expecting much out of him. But overall, very good. Won 221 to 195. I have now clinched a playoff spot. And going back a few weeks, I just want to mention to Yahoo and their projections that they can go pound sand because the man they call Tim is not going to be at 7-7 or 7-8. It's going to be a healthy 10 or 12-2. We'll call it, baby.
Once again, pride cometh before the fall. I remember you bragging like this before Derrick Henry had a leg fly off.
And I checked my schedule to see what my last 3 games are, and guess what the last game of the season is going to be, of the regular season?
Oh, really?
Idiot Bowl 2, ladies and gentlemen. Idiot Bowl 2 will be the final game of the regular season for Uncle Todd and I.
And I'm going to get killed. That's just the way it is. It's gonna happen. It's going to happen. However, I do want to now. I know that everybody's here for the fake football talk, but I just want to say I've not watched a lot of NFL action the past couple of years, and I just happened to decide to flip on the beginning of the Pats Falcons game the other day, and I don't know, folks. I saw someone on ESPN a couple of weeks ago. I wish I could remember who it was. I don't think it was on Screamin' A. Smith's show. I can't remember who it was, but they basically said the Patriots can mess around and go to the Super Bowl. And I was like, that's actually the perfect way to put it. I don't know, man. I mean, I know it's against a Falcons team that hasn't been over 500 in, like 5-6 years or something like that since they went to the Super Bowl. They really haven't recovered from that Super Bowl, by the way.
No,
the Falcons haven't. No. Oh my gosh. I've never seen a franchise take a loss like that and just like turtle so badly. Oh my gosh. It's like it wounded their souls somehow. Anyways, but I mean, it's not a good team for sure. But that's what good teams do, is they take care of business against bad teams and do it quite handily. And man, looked good. Looked like, again, I hate to say it, if you're a Patriots fan, it's like you feel like, I think I've seen this movie before. Like all you need a really good defense, really good coach, and you kind of need an offense that can give you some points and a quarterback who isn't going to kill you. I don't know. It seems like they might have those things. So just to intrude on the fake football with some real football, I don't know. I might try and find some degenerate gamblers around here to put some bets on.
I mean, I agree with what you said. I think their defense has been strong, and I think they've been performing as well as they can offensively. I mean, they had a blowout. Wasn't it this past week? It was like 40-something. Or am I thinking of 2 weeks ago? I think I'm thinking of 2 weeks ago. They had a blowout against, it might have been the Jets or something like that. I forget.
Yeah, but then the Falcons, they took care of like 25-0.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, again, and not a dominant team, but man, they just took care of business. It was solid, and it was on to whoever's next, and that's what good teams do.
On to the next.
But anyway,
all right. Well, enough of the fake football 2021 campaign. We're going to move on to we had a trailer, an updated trailer come out this last week for Spider-Man No Way Home, and I just thought we'd take a few minutes and just kind of get a couple hot takes from you and I on our thoughts on said trailer. So yes, sir. Just wanted to kind of see what you thought. Does this change anything for you in terms of your perception of the movie, or what?
I am not it really doesn't dim my enthusiasm for the movie, because it would be very hard to, because I do really like, oh my gosh, what's his face? The dude who's playing Spider-Man, Tom Holland. I do enjoy Tom Holland's performance. I think they've really got Spider-Man right in this incarnation. I feel like they really, really have a good feel for the character, good take on all the characters. I really like this. So it's not going to dim my enthusiasm for it. I was not a fan of the trailer. I thought the initial trailer was much better, a little bit more ambiguous, didn't show you as much. I felt like they were trying to almost like, come on, no, you really want to see this movie? It's like, no, don't do that. Don't go down the DC route. Don't pander. Don't try and like lure me in. Like, you got me. You got all of us. Let's be honest. Like, look how much money Marvel movies make. You got us. Don't start giving away stuff and trying to do what other trailers do, which is try and like almost reel you in. Like, I felt like it was pandering a little bit, and I didn't like it. I don't want a lot shown. I like how Marvel has been pretty close to the vest in their trailers, and they don't show you a lot. Like all the Doctor Strange stuff, sort of, instead of Doctor Strange, we get Doctor Explain. Like, here, let me explain this movie to you. And no, I don't want that. I want that when I'm watching the movie. I don't want you to give that to me in the trailer. So I will see the flick. Not really impressed with this trailer.
Still thinking it's Mephisto?
Could be.
It's going to be another 2 years before Mephisto even appears in any Marvel content. We're going to be like,
who knows? Who knows? Who knows? What about you, sir? What do you think? What do you think about the trailer part 2?
I thought it was interesting. So it's pretty much confirmed that we're going to see Lizard, Electro, Sandman, Doc Ock. So we got 4. I thought there was a 5th.
Did you say Electro?
Electro.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx is coming back as Electro.
Yeah, so Electro, Sandman, Doc Ock, that's 3. Lizard is 4. Who is the 5th one that I thought I saw? Oh, Green Goblin. Green Goblin. Because I am preparing the reel and the jabroni for Spider-Man No Way Home. Because, yes, we are going to do that again. And one of the questions is going to be around, are they going to materialize and identify those who are traveling into the Spider-Man universe here, the Sinister Six? Are we actually seeing the formation of the Sinister Six in this movie? Because we're getting awfully close. We're at 5, so...
True. Yeah.
It's interesting. And then, like you said, I think this trailer kind of explained a little bit more the back and forth with Doctor Strange and Peter. Seems like we got a little bit of insight into the struggle that they're having on that train that we saw. And yeah, it did kind of bring you down a little bit in terms of, okay, well, maybe it's not Mephisto, because it seemed like Doctor Strange was pretty level-headed through all of this. So I don't know,
Yeah. It's just gave away too much.
It did. And what I found interesting, though, was when they did talk about the multiverse and they were talking about, it seemed like Strange was trying to prevent some things from happening. It was interesting to see that purple hue that we've, started to kind of understand from Loki that is associated with Kang. And so I'm kind of wondering if this is, going to be somehow tied into what we saw at the end of Loki, where the multiverse kind of splinters and becomes something. And and this is a result of that to some degree, because it does seem somewhat relevant in that sense. So I was, it was fun to see. My sons both mentioned to me that I guess there was a Brazilian version of this trailer that came out that actually kind of showed, if you look carefully, when they showed all the villains, that Marvel may have done some editing of the trailer to kind of hide what is rumored to be Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming in as the other 2 multiversal Spider-Men, because a couple of the villains look like they're getting attacked and Tom Holland is nowhere near them. So it's kind of similar to what they did with Professor Hulk in Avengers Endgame, where you didn't see him on that, kind of slow walk to the stage there before they did the time travel. So a little potential there for a surprise where that becomes a realized thing. So yeah, it was interesting. I mean, like you said, you kind of like it to not be explained. It does kind of lend itself. There was a quote from Tom Holland last week where he was saying that this movie is going to go kind of in a dark place, and it definitely had that feeling in the beginning, like there's going to be a loss, I think, coming, and you can't fight all those bad guys without there being some casualties. So,
definitely,
So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out.
Indeed, it will.
Next item, it comes via denofgeeks.com, and not just from them. This was kind of announced across a bunch of different sources last week, but the character of Sabine Wren has been cast for the live-action Ahsoka series.
Ooh.
Natasha Liu Bordizzo will be playing Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka series, and there's 2 very interesting points about this character that I wanted to call out. The first being, and maybe you know this because I think you mentioned you watch Rebels with your daughter, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So when we last saw Sabine, she was going to assist or work with Ahsoka to find. They went on a search for Ezra Bridger because, as you may or may not have heard on this show or other shows, Ezra, well, he and the Grand Admiral Thrawn decided to be hyperspaced away by space whales.
Yeah, they went away, as they say.
Nanu. And
out where the buses don't run.
So that was the last we kind of saw of her. And what's kind of interesting is her presence in Ahsoka, may be a confirmation of the direction the show is, going in with maybe it being a search for Ezra, as well as the Grand Admiral, as we had heard Ahsoka inquire about in The Mandalorian. But the interesting implication for The Mandalorian is that, her character comes from a Mandalorian clan. And she originally, she fought with Bo-Katan to free Mandalore, and basically was the possessor of the Darksaber, and she gifted it to Bo. Bo then loses it to, I'm forgetting his name, Giancarlo Esposito. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's crud. I can't. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Moff Gideon.
Yes, I knew Moff was in there, but I couldn't remember what the rest of it was.
Yes, and then Moff loses it to Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, and so there's also that angle to it as well. That with her coming back, and with Bo-Katan not necessarily having defeated her for the Darksaber, will she eventually kind of be worked into that storyline? Because when we come back to season 3 of The Mandalorian, there has got to be some strand of storyline that's going to be about the Darksaber and the implications of him having that. So I think this is really cool. I think this is really cool overall to bring in a character like that. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, you know what they say, the more Mandalorians, the merrier.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
You know what, Patrick?
You having some bourbon over there, my friend?
You know what, Patrick? Just turn around and go figure out how to mail them packages. Don't give me that look. Don't give me that look. I was
working on the furnace.
No, I haven't sent him out there for that yet. I'm waiting for it to get colder, honestly.
Right. Goodness.
What?
Gracious.
Yeah, got to mail the packages out. Don't make me regret recording here. I can do this in my car, all right? Anyways, sorry. No, I'm excited for it because I thought Sabine was a very interesting character in Rebels, and it was interesting seeing kind of how that character grew. And I mean, I kind of said it as a joke, but yeah, more Mandalorians, I'm all in. Especially the fact that it just makes things more complicated, and how. If season 3 really, season 3 of The Mandalorian really revolves around Darksaber and Bo-Katan and Sabine, and maybe how all that plays out, sign me up. I'm ready for that.
Indeed,
that sounds like a lot of fun. Now the question I have is, should I know this actor, the Natasha, from anything? Would I know her?
I don't have the article up right now. I don't know.
Okay. I'll take a peek and see if I can figure this out.
Let me see if I can find anything.
The name does not sound at all familiar.
I'd have to look her up in IMDb. I don't think the article.
Oh, here she is. Well, they're saying the Society is what she's, like so-and-so from blah, blah, blah. Is there anything that I would know? Oh my gosh, she was born the frickin' year I graduated from high school. Good God, I'm old.
At my age, the mind starts playing tricks. So, death!
That's only the cat.
Oh.
How you feeling now?
Your knee is acting up. Mine just almost fell out from under me.
There you go.
I got nothing. No idea who she is. But, hey, I mean, I didn't know who a lot of these other people were. So, whatever. Favreau and Filoni.
Geniuses, I say. And finally, less a topic of geekdom and, or as I like to call it, a little culinary chicanery that Uncle Todd and I will be exercising in a couple days here. Thanksgiving is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. And it is an occasion Uncle Todd and I delve into the culinary arts. Yes, we do hurt ourselves. And yes, there are normally Band-Aids involved. But coming up on this Thursday, I thought we kind of talk through the items that we will be preparing. I myself am going to be brining a turkey breast, basically applying an herb rub to it. And then for the first time ever, I will be wrapping this turkey breast in bacon.
So you didn't mention that when we were talking about this in pre-production.
No, I want to lay it on you live. Lay it on you live, brother.
Oh, good Lord. After you said that, I might need a cigarette. That sounds delightful. Oh, goodness.
And two things I'm wondering will be at play there. So since I'll be brining the meat, it will be, of course, keeping it not moisturized, but tenderized. You know what I mean? And I'm wondering, as the bacon is cooking and that fat is dripping off the bacon, if that's just going to get soaked right up by the meats. And
it will, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I'm looking forward to it.
So I've actually, and I want to try this. I might try this year because I actually do have some bacon in the fridge that I should use for something. But I have heard of when you bake your turkey that you basically take a pound of bacon essentially and just drape it over the breasts. and that helps keep it moist, and also the bacon cooks on it, and you kind of get all that delightful juices and fat, and just makes magic. My mouth is watering uncontrollably right now.
And did I mention I'd be grilling it? So I'll be grilling this.
I'm like Hooch from the movie right now. I'm just drooling on my desk. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Yeah, so that sounds delightful. Now the funny thing is, so you're doing that, and what I laughed because when you first said that you were going to grill your turkey, I'm thinking about a turkey, and you're like, oh no, it's a 7-pound turkey breast. Okay, well this would be impossible for us because my wife always buys like the largest turkey she can find. I swear to God,
the Death Star of turkeys.
We have Birdzilla show up every single year, and she'll say the same thing. Oh my gosh, that's a big bird. I'm like, no kidding. That's what 25, 27 pounds worth of turkey is. Like, they had to like have 3 people gun this thing down. Like, there was no wrangling it into the slaughterhouse. Like, they had to release this one and like take it out with a bazooka. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we've got that. And it's always interesting because then you have to cook other stuff. And I'm like, you can't cook anything around this. Like, this takes up the entire freaking oven. This is it. You know, unless you want me to go build a fire out back and put it on a spit and sit there and rotate it by hand for like 3 hours, which I mean, I've been
drink some bourbon while you're doing it.
Well, you get some wild turkey to go along with your turkey.
Gobble.
Like gobble, and then fall into the fire, and then, well, hey, he had a good run. So we're doing the turkey, we're doing Birdzilla, and then my job for Thanksgiving has been for many years mashed potatoes, because I love, and my problem is though, I love me some smashed potatoes. Like, I don't like my potatoes perfectly smooth, and I actually like putting the skin in. I like old school kind of clumpy mashed, like smashed potatoes. Lots of butter, lots of sour cream, salt, pepper, garlic, the whole deal. Unfortunately, I now have to make concessions for other people because we always have a lot of company. So there's no skin on the smashed potatoes. They're much more mashed than smashed now because everyone likes their mashed potatoes smooth. I was like, what are you figuring out, like 90? You don't have teeth? You can't chew like a couple of chunks of potato?
Potato.
Gosh. So we've got that. And then the one thing that I do look forward to every single year is my wife makes a killer apple sausage stuffing, which is delightful. It's like a meal unto itself. Like, I will actually have, because we always run out of turkey. Even though we have like these gigantic turkeys, we always seem to run out of turkey because my wife just gives it away. I'm like, you don't understand the concept of leftovers. I want that. So, but when you get towards the end of the Thanksgiving leftovers, I will just have a plate like that's half stuffing and half mashed potatoes, and that's it. I don't need any turkey anymore. Just give me the stuffing, the mashed potatoes, and then save me a little room for the cranberry sauce. And by the way, so I have to ask you this: are you doing cranberry sauce, sir?
I believe yes.
Okay, now
I'm not preparing anything with it, so that is I think my wife's taking care of that. So yes.
Now, do you do fresh cranberry sauce?
I think we just do it out of a can, I think.
As the Lord intended it to be.
Okay, just like, this is going to go one of two ways. Either he's going to blast me for this, or he's going to scream hallelujah.
No. See, this whole thing of like, oh no, the fresh cranberry sauce, it's this and that. It's like, no. I want some can marks on that. I want some can marks. I want to see it. I want to watch it slide out of the can. And then I am thankful for that. Oh, that's what I want. I want to be some can marks. I'm almost drooling as much now thinking about that as the bacon on the turkey. Love me cranberry sauce. And the thing is, you can buy cranberry sauce all year round, which is a glorious thing in and of itself, but it just tastes better in November. That's just my contention. I might be wrong, but loving it. Oh, it's gonna be great. So yeah, that's the main dishes, and then of course we've got other assorted things that people are bringing, but that's kind of like those are the 3 main events for me. Nice. Maybe some veggies will work their way in there. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. But that is the sum total of the chicanery for me. Although the funny part is, so here's the real funny part. We aren't even going to be able to cook our bird at our house.
Oh, really?
Yes. So the house that we are currently renting, because I think I mentioned this in the show, like we moved a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so the oven that we have, really good oven, but it's not big enough for this freaking Turkzilla that we have. So we've got our old house that we are in the process of selling, but we've got it until like December 10th. So we had to bring, the other thing is like that we had to bring the turkey over to our old house and put it in the refrigerator because there was no room in our refrigerator to put like a 27-pound turkey. So we've got it over there. So I'm going to have to like run back and forth between houses, like a 10-minute, 5 to 8 minute drive back and forth to the house to go and cook the turkey at a different house.
At this point, should we cue the Benny Hill music?
Oh, that shenanigans will ensue. It's going to be glorious. I'm going to be in trouble.
Oh my god.
It's going to be bad, but you know what? It'll be fine because by like 3-4 o'clock, everyone's going to be full. Everyone's going to be drunk. Maybe some people will be fist fighting on the front lawn. It'll be great. It's going to be awesome.
Jeez.
And the neighbors will be doing the same thing because we're in a neighborhood now, and I can tell like there's 2-3 families living around us that I'm like, oh, it's going to happen. This powder keg. All it's going to take is some turkey and some alcohol. And people are going to be laying bets. I'm putting 50 on Grandma. Look at her. Oh yeah, she's nasty.
She's looking ornery.
She's got that purse. She's got a knife in that purse. She's got it. She'll cut you. She'll cut you. Oh, and that uncle right there, he's got a prison shank on him. Just look at him. Just look at him. Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
I don't know what kind of crazy Thanksgiving you put on, sir. Jeez Louise.
Oh, no, I'm talking about other families. Like ours will be fairly straight ahead. But I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a couple fistfights in our neighborhood. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Luckily, I've stocked up with some bandages so I can act like the cut man when I go around.
Band-Aids. It all comes down to the Band-Aids, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Well, on that culinary and somewhat, saliva-inducing note, my friends, is the Weekend Geek.
As well as disturbing as well. But thank you, sir, for once again scouring the interwebs and bringing us all the news that's fit to, print, say, something. Anyways.
30 minutes or less, baby. 30 minutes or less.
Yeah. What are you, like Domino's? We're over 30 minutes here. I want it free.
Where's my refund?
So our main topic for today is our album One-on-One, which we did this before with. It was an all-Canadian album One-on-One with Rush and Bare Naked Ladies. We went a little bit different directions. So Tim was the first to pick his out. Actually, you went first last time too, if I'm not remembering incorrectly.
I think I did.
Yeah, because you're farther ahead of the curve than I am. Let's just lay that out there.
Well,
so,
I mean, and not to toot my own horn, but this was, you and I went through a little bit of a brainstorming session with ideas, different. Let's face it. Once we got through BSG,
yeah, we were dry on.
We had to sink our teeth into other things. So.
Now what do we talk about? Crap.
And so this kind of came up because you and I, while we have known each other, as you mentioned, for well over 2 decades, have different musical tastes. And I was thinking about that way back when and just said, hey, what a concept it would be if we just kind of picked from our respective backgrounds, different albums that we enjoyed and, kind of assign them to one another and talk through them. And, some may, land hard and others may be enjoyable,
Yeah.
It worked out that last time it was kind of a love fest with the Bare Naked Ladies and Rush. We had a very nice experience, I think, on both sides listening to those respective albums. And so this time, there wasn't nearly enough curmudgeon, so we decided to go a little bit in a different direction and go off the beaten path. So
yes. So this time around, Tim has selected Stone Temple Pilots' 4th studio album, creatively entitled Number 4, for me to listen to. And I said,
Would that be Geordie LaForge? Number 4? Never mind.
No, I think he would probably be 5th. I think he might actually be behind Dr. Crusher.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's
I
my
just wondering
thought.
who number 4 on the Enterprise would be. But anyways, go ahead.
And I said, well, Tim, you listened to Aerosmith's 9 Lives album. Now, the funny part is I was trying to match the year. So Stone Temple Pilots number 4 came out in 99 and 9 Lives came out in 97, though. But
Right.
it works out because these are both very big bands. I didn't realize how the sheer number of albums Stone Temple Pilots had shifted in their time together as a band. They sold a butt ton of albums. And Aerosmith, of course, American rock royalty. Both of these albums, though, even though they were released at a time where you could still say the band was somewhat in their prime, Aerosmith was kind of on their second or third prime at this point, depending on how you look at it. Which is, hey, if you're a band that you can have more than one prime, that's pretty damn good. However, these albums were not exactly welcomed with open arms. You know what I mean? They were sort of like, okay, well, it's an album. And some mixed reviews on them. So I think it matched up pretty well with bands that people are like, oh, yeah, to albums that are people like, oh, yeah, they did do that album, right? Oh, yeah, that was a thing. So it was kind of an interesting contrast. So now, why did you decide to choose number 4 for me to listen to?
So this album was one that I listened to a lot when I think so. It came out in '99, so I think we were still sharing an apartment before we kind of went our separate ways. And I was doing a lot of
yourself a real job.
Well, and I was doing a lot of driving. I was driving from basically southeast New Hampshire to basically southwest New Hampshire every day.
That was a way out there, yeah.
For my work. And so there was a lot of drive time, a lot of time to listen to music. And this was a staple of my listening on the way home. I was a big fan of Stone Temple Pilots overall throughout the 90s. Really enjoyed Scott Weiland's voice and just the band overall. And this was an album that I just felt captured. It's not what I would call one of their classics or, this being the apex of what they did, but this was in my mind, a well-balanced album where it had a lot of energy, a lot of good rock to it. Really, a couple songs really highlighted the vocals well. The last song on it, which we'll talk songs and that sort of thing, but I really enjoyed the last song on it. They called Atlanta, which for a second I had to check and make sure that Jim Morrison wasn't guest spotting on this one, but it was just really well done. So I picked it because it holds a special place in my heart from. It was kind of the beginning of my professional career. I just finished with college and was getting out and working on my own and doing a lot of driving to basically to get to and from work. And it was kind of the soundtrack for that part of my life. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on it and see if it was something you would dig.
Fair enough.
And you, sir, why did you assign me 9 Lives?
Well, partly it was I wanted to match up with what you were doing. And after doing like bare minimum research when you first suggested it, what I did realize kind of was like, oh, this is not the album, like the have to have essential album from Stone Temple Pilots that every fan would say, yeah, listen to that one. But it obviously had meaning to you. And so I'm like, okay, so what album kind of fits that for me? Yeah. And 9 Lives was an album that I just really took to when it came out. And it was so different and it felt like there was a lot of musical layers to it. And there's kind of a good reason for that in the production story of the album. But there was several songs on there that I really liked. And, it didn't have a plethora of hits. Like it really has one song, which is Pink, that became a big hit for the band. Everything else was just never quite took, but there was several songs on there that I liked. And of course I was also in the process. I was trying to write like this kind of short story novella thing that I had in my head. And I was kind of using a lot of the songs off of this as like a soundtrack in my head as I was writing. And it never went to anything. It never came to anything because it was basically like me writing college angsty stuff that it's like, yeah, that's great. No one wants to watch that. So, so I knew the album fairly intimately from just listening to it so many times, and it kind of matched up with number 4 because I'm like, oh, big bands albums that fans are probably not going to put this in their top 5. But if you catches you at the right time, it can really have an impact on you personally, and it becomes kind of a favorite, even though it's everyone else. So like, really? Oh, yeah. Sort of thing. So I figured I would return the favor with my own, perhaps slightly less loved album.
All right. Very nice. All right. So that was a little on the why. Should we run through the lineups real quick and then jump into the overall thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean the lineups are pretty easy on this because it's both bands with their, their kind of essential lineup. Like this is the classic Aerosmith lineup. This is, after they got back together with Permanent Vacation in the late 80s. This is the lineup that they had, starting out. This is now back to the classic Aerosmith lineup. So you got Steven Tyler on vocals, Joe Perry on lead guitar and vocals. You got Brad Whitford on rhythm guitar. You got Tom Hamilton on bass, Joey Kramer on drums. Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. And on STP side, you got Scott Weiland on lead vocals, Dean DeLeo on bass, Robert DeLeo on guitar, and Eric Kretz on drums.
I do love when I was doing some background research on Stone Temple Pilots. Well, Dean is the guitar player, right?
Oh, you know what? I think I got it reversed. I think you're right. Dean is the guitar player and Robert is the bass player. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, because he's the older of the two DeLeo boys. And I love how the band was called Swing when they recruited him to play. But his one thing was, I will not play in a band named Swing. And that's when they changed their name to Mighty Joe Young, which then they had to get rid of because there was already someone who had that name, and then you get Stone Temple Pilots. But I just love the fact that they were searching for a guitar player and they couldn't find one. They went to and it was like, and then the bass player is sort of like, oh, we could ask my brother. Like, it wasn't even a first thought for him. It was his second thought was, oh yeah, my brother, because he's quit playing music. And they're that desperate that even the guy who already had he had a steady gig, steady job, and he's going to come back and he's like, I ain't playing with you. And they're so desperate for a guitar player. They're like, sure, we'll change the name of the band. Whatever, dude. Just please.
Sold.
I thought, and at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I've kind of been there as a musician. I know exactly what that feeling is like. Like, you'll do whatever. Sure. And I got to buy you beer at every gig. Okay, fine. Just make it tap. Whatever we got to do.
Oh, that's funny.
That was great.
That's funny. One interesting note on number 4, I just want to mention too, because you mentioned how it's kind of like a not, highly ranked or maybe referenced album. I didn't realize this, but there was a lack of promotion of this album because Scott Weiland, sadly, he was saddled with a lot of, extracurricular problems outside of the band. And he was apparently...
That's a nice way to put it.
He was apparently serving a 1-year jail sentence shortly before the album's release. So it's a little bit hard to promote an album when your lead singer is nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
I did end up going to see... God, I'm trying to remember where it was. It was in Massachusetts, but I think I saw... And I say I think because sadly at age 46, I'm struggling to remember some of these things. But I did go with a good friend to see them perform, I think when this was the primary album that was released. And the opening band, believe it or not, was Disturbed. So this was before Disturbed became huge. I mean, they were kind of on the upswing. But yeah, it was somewhere. It wasn't in Boston. It was kind of on the I'm forgetting. What's the highway that kind of curves around the
495?
Yeah, 490. I think it was somewhere along there. I just can't remember the name of the city. So,
is it Worcester?
Might have been.
You go to see him down to Centrum, Bob?
Yeah, $1.25, Bob. So,
which actually is funny because the one time that I saw Aerosmith live was at the Worcester Centrum.
Really? Oh my gosh.
And the opening band was Silverchair.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a good show. I mean, it was interesting. Actually, I think it might have even been this album when they were touring. Now that I think about it.
Oh, interesting.
Because it would have been right around that time, or maybe a little bit after. Yeah, but it was right around this time. So the album couldn't have been that. Couldn't have been that old.
Interesting parallels with our choices, sir.
Yeah.
Nice. Overall thoughts, sir. Tim, why did you do this to me?
No. And the thing is, I can see where people are coming from with all the reviews. I get it. I think one of the reviews, I wish I'd actually gotten a link. I'll try and find it, but I probably won't. But one of the reviews, I think, nailed it, where it basically sounds like they were trying to mix all the new alt metal trends that were happening with what they did and kind of put this new thing together. Like they were trying to ride some trends. And that also happened. You could see some of that with Aerosmith's album as well, which is kind of funny as well. But yeah, I totally get that because there's times I'm listening to this and I'm like, oh, that kind of sounds a bit like You know, like, oh, there's a little bit that kind of sounds like Disturbed, or here's a little Godsmack, or here's a little, you know, some of those bands that came out after Stone Temple Pilots had really gotten big, but now they're kind of copying some of the trends and some of the little bits. But it's also kind of funny because there's times when it sounds like grunge's greatest hits. You know, like I could definitely hear some Alice in Chains vocally from Weiland, which is sort of like, really? Like, dude, you got your own voice, which is another thing that I'll get into in a second. But like, why are you trying to cop what was that guy? Lane Staley or why are you trying to cop it? Number one, why are you trying to cop him? Because you can't sing like him, because nobody can. Just, you know, there's certain singers that you just shouldn't try to sing like, because you're going to fail miserably. Like Freddie Mercury, Chris Cornell, and Staley there from Alice in Chains. Like, just don't. You are going to embarrass yourself. You got to go the other direction, because nobody can sing like them. But then there's also, you know, a little bit of Nirvana, a little bit of Soundgarden, which was kind of like, okay, I guess some of the grunge stuff is kind of universal, but there's some stuff that I was like, that sounds like a blatant ripoff. So it felt to me like, yeah, it was sort of like a hodgepodge. Now, the funny thing is, the first time I was listening to this album, I put it on when I went to the gym, because I was like, crud. Number one, I'm horrible at finding workout music, because my natural bent for music is like soul and funk and jazz, and then none of those are good for lifting. None of those. None of those. You don't want to be listened to at the car wash. And, you know,
Clark, give me a little mumbles while I'm lifting 500 pounds.
Yeah, like George Clinton, the P-Funk All-Stars aren't going to really get you pumped, you know, to bang out some reps.
God.
So I was like, okay, well, I've got like a 45, 60-minute routine, you know, of workout here. All right, let's put on this album, because I know that I'll have uninterrupted time to listen to it. So I was like, all right, good time to kind of listen and just get overall opinions as I'm just doing stuff. It's a really good album to lift to. It's got some nice heavy parts to it. It's got some nice riffs, and not to bash too heavily, because I do kind of have a little bit of an affinity for Stone Temple Pilots. I remember when they first came out and how it was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. But it was never like my band, you know. Like I knew like you, I knew a couple other guys who that was their band, you know, and never was my band, man. But it's easy to listen to and not think about. You know, like if you ever watched High Fidelity with John Cusack, where he's like, I just want something that I don't have to think about when he's thinking about, you know, talking about music to play in the shop. Yeah. And it's music you don't really have to sit there and listen to get it. Like you can hear it and you can be doing something and it's great. There's another thing there's a lot of Sunday references on this. Like it seemed like every other line, Weiland's, you know, Sunday in that, you know, sort of thing. And I'm like, what the heck? Like he just learned this, that there was that day of the week for this album? I mean, did he think there was 6 days before this? And all of a sudden he's like, well, man, there's a Sunday. I'm going to work that into every song now. And after a while, I was like, the hell is up with this? Like, I'm pretty sure that he was still on, you know, he was still on the smack at this point. So I don't think it was a religious thing. He liked the word, apparently. Yeah. The funny part is you do get all of it is a showcase of all the Scott Weiland vocal cadences, because he does have at least 2 or 3 that I could identify and pick out, because he does kind of have that, and you're like, yeah, whatever. Okay. I can't understand what the crap you're saying. You could be mumbling. You could be like shouting out a cookie recipe. No idea.
Wait, you didn't like STP's version of mumbles? No, I'm sorry.
And then he kind of has that, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But they're all there. So if you're into that sort of thing, he's got that for you. A lot of lyrics that I could not understand unless I had a heroin to English dictionary handy, and I didn't.
Jeez.
The thing is, I do appreciate enunciation from singers a lot more than I used to. And now listening to it, I'm like, I don't want to have to look up all the lyrics, dude. Like, at least give me a vague hint of what you're saying, you know? And part of it is just the way that he sings, and it's whatever. Like I'm sure the lyrics aren't all that deep anyways, because there's a couple when I'm listening where I think he said like alligator sister at some point, and I'm like I'm driving around. I'm like, And I literally said out loud, what the crap is an alligator's sister? The hell are you talking about, Scott?
Oh, nice.
Like, how did they not put him into rehab as soon as he brought that lyric to rehearsal? Like, no, sorry, Scott, get in the car. Get in the car! No. Not you, Patrick. We're not good. No. No, I'm not taking it to McDonald's afterwards. It's right across the street. Go there now. You're scared? Well, true. That is kind of the shady McDonald's around here. Yeah, that's right. Well, then get on your moped and go to the good one down the street.
Just remind him not to walk through the drive-thru this time.
I don't even mention that. We don't talk about that anymore. But I overall like it's a decent album. It's nothing that I would ever feel like I need to have, you know. But I'm saying that now, like some 20 years after it was released. If I listened to this album like you had, and I'd already been a fan of the band, sort of like when I listened to Nine Lives, I was already a fan in a big bad way, and I could go through their catalog left, right, and center. So maybe if it had hit me at that time, I would have a better appreciation for it now. But now I'm like, I don't really ever need to listen to this album aside from like gym days. And then, okay, yeah, let me just take out like 2 or 3 songs. Let me take out Sour Girl. Let me take out Atlanta. I think there was once I Got You. Let me take those out, and good. Now I've got a solid 25, 30 minutes of lift music, throw in a couple of other STP songs, and boom, hey, perfect. So yeah, I mean, overall, not too bad, but nothing I'm ever gonna confuse with one of the greatest albums ever.
Sure. Well, I just want to ask, what did you think of the song Atlanta?
It was good. It was one of those. I feel like because they did an MTV Unplugged, right?
They did. I don't know if it was with this album though.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying I can definitely feel the MTV Unplugged vibe kind of permeate with this, and I think it happened. I think it kind of happened for a lot of bands, like mid to late 90s, after Unplugged was really a thing. And then you had a lot of bands who had Unplugged albums that were like some of their biggest hits. Yeah. And some even had like revivals. Like, I mean, my God, Clapton breathed new life into his career for sure. Aerosmith, their Unplugged really helped their career get back on track. And Nirvana's Unplugged was like a game changer for them in terms of like being mainstream. I mean, they were already steadily on the way, but then it even got bigger after that Unplugged. Yeah. I can definitely feel that influence here because there's a few songs with like, hey, listen, see, we can do quiet stuff. We can do acoustic, like sensitive stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay. I liked it, but the note that I have with that one is it damn near rips off my favorite things. The oh, gotcha. And I'm like, you're like 2 notes away, Scott. Just go in. Just give me the whole thing. Just give me the whole thing, you know? But it's good. You know, I got to admit, like my favorite songs on here are really the quieter ones. Where I actually felt like Weiland was actually singing and not doing Scott Weiland things. Because the dude could sing. Like he actually had a fairly unique voice. And when he chose to actually sing with some enunciation and care, he could do it. Unfortunately, he just got caught doing, the Scott Weiland go-to moves. And it's like, all right, yeah, well, whatever. I mean, yeah, it pays the bills. But yeah, it's probably Sour Girl and Atlanta are my 2 favorite songs off of the album, really. Right. Everything else is just kind of interchangeable for me. Like, oh yeah, it's kind of heavy, that's kind of cool, but nothing that sticks out. Like those 2, I was like, oh yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it was funny when I listened to it along each, like I think more often than, well, I don't know how to say this. The phrase that I repeat a lot across all these songs is great energy. And I think that kind of speaks to what you were saying about its impact on your lifting or doing a workout. Like there is an energy to it. Yeah. Like these songs have drive to them. There's which one, I mean, Sour Girl's a good one. Where is it?
I mean, I will say even the softer stuff, it's not lazy. Yeah. And a couple of the reviews I saw, they kind of did drop the L word. They dropped the lazy word, like, oh yeah, this is such a cliche or this and that and the other. I didn't feel that the album was lazy, especially. I felt it was more generic. That's the way I'd put it, because I don't feel like there was good energy, and I felt like you could get that through the recording. I felt like the recording captured the energy of the band playing together pretty well. But a lot of the themes and some of the lyrics, what lyrics I did understand on some of these songs, just very generic. Like, okay, yeah. Oh, gee, another rock band singing about sex. Wow, who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody ever done that one. Okay, and I mean, yeah, that's still the thing. And there's a bunch of songs that like that I like, but they were done in a bit more of an original way. And it feels generic more than anything. Like I wouldn't fault them for a lack of effort is not, no, actually a lack of effort it would be a lack of energy. I wouldn't fault them for lack of effort in terms of like really trying to make it somewhat unique. Yeah, I might.
I mean, I did think they did a nice job across some of these songs of balancing out the chaotic and loud and brash and drive with, like it always seemed like with some of the songs, like there was this balance between heavy and light. There was like either the verse was really heavy with a lot of noise and then the chorus would lighten up, or vice versa. You'd have the verse be kind of light and then the chorus would be really driving. Yeah.
I mean, they did a good job in terms of mixing it up to get some basic contrast and some dynamics. And but at a certain level, like that's nice. But this is a band that's, at this point in their career, have been playing together for a long time. They're on their fourth album. They're highly regarded as a band. And yeah, you ought to be able to do that. Like that should be a given. It's not your first album that I'm like, whoa, these guys can actually play. Like, no, we know you can play. So to me, that's sort of like a baseline. Like, yeah, it should be dynamic. I can see giving credit for that, but I just don't give them a whole lot of credit for that, because it should be like, well, yeah, that's what you do.
All right.
And what were your overall thoughts on 9 Lives? Now, the funny part here is, I will say, I did give you, I didn't go easy on you, because you gave me a 42-minute album. I gave you a 62-minute album.
And, what's up with that?
It's actually tied with Get a Grip, the previous album, it was tied for the longest Aerosmith album they'd put out at the time. And then I think they had another album that came out a few years after that was a little bit longer. But yeah, so 62 minutes worth of music. What were your overall thoughts on that, sir?
Overall, it was, I would call it kind of standard Aerosmith fare. And several of the songs kind of fit, what I would call the formulaic Aerosmith pop kind of formula. But I've always been, I always enjoy their harmonies, the way they can harmonize, and whether it's verse or chorus, and the way they kind of bring that into play has always been really well done. Like I thought like 9 Lives, the first track, was interesting because I definitely got to feel like they were kind of drawing some inspiration. Now, I know you mentioned STP like kind of sounded like or did like I kind of look at those things as maybe they were inspired by and honoring sort of thing. Like, so 9 Lives, I kind of felt the very beginning was very I Can't Drive 55-ish. It had a very Sammy Hagar feel to it. And even the way Steven Tyler sings, not that he's trying to replicate Sammy in any way, shape, or form, but it just had that kind of energy to it. I mean, I thought it was a great, high energy song, and just kind of was a good one to open with. But I felt it felt kind of inspired by that. Jumping down like Full Circle had a huge kind of, feel of Leonard Skinner's Tuesday's Gone, kind of beginning to it. I immediately thought of Dazed and Confused, and just that, where that song kind of fell in the movie there. What else? The second song, Falling in Love, that kind of felt like a standard Aerosmith pop song. But again, I think that they do a great job of bringing harmonies in on like the bridge and chorus. Hole in My Soul, they do have, kind of their formula for the ballads. And so there was the harmonies, the violins were great. It was great to see him introduce that. I liked how Steven Tyler was kind of talking through the first 30 seconds of that song, and kind of went into the kind of sad, sappy sort of thing. that they were, putting forth there. And I liked, in that song, like it really had a sense of dramatics and desperation to it, so I feel like they did a nice job kind of expressing that emotion in the song. I won't go, I think one of the questions is what's our favorite, so I won't say, but really like Taste of India. I listened to that a couple times and I'm like, man, they really got a nice texture and theme going with it. Love the drums and bass in that song. Has a great instrumental ending. Although I will say the one thing that definitely kind of hit me, and I think we talked about this when we just did kind of a general Van Halen overview, was I'm definitely at an age where I think I've outgrown the lyrics a little bit, like the whole 80s band, I need to get the girl and get her in bed sort of thing. It's just like, it's like I'm good.
You old fat.
It's like, kind of the way you were expressing with STP and just not understanding the lyrics. Here it's just like, these lyrics aren't doing anything for me, but I think, but I can appreciate the music part of it. Like I think of these things sometimes as like, would this work in a movie, or would this, a lot of times we, where we talk wrestling and stuff like that, a lot of what makes a wrestler who they are is the emotion you feel when their music hits. And so I felt like that song had kind of that entrance music vibe to it. It just has a real nice drive and real good feel to it. So really enjoyed that. What else? Each song kind of had a different sort of feel. Like Something's Gotta Give had a great guitar intro, and it made, I remember thinking it felt very Van Halen like, it was like part Van Halen, part blues. Love the harmonica. I know that's something that, or as Johnny Cash would call it, the harmonica. Working that in there. Very much enjoyed that. And as the album went on, I mean, it was good. It definitely went from, the beginning, I really enjoyed the first, 5 or so songs. And it wasn't that I didn't enjoy the tail end, but it definitely was just kind of either hitting a formula or just kind of trailing off in terms of energy and engaging me. You know what I mean? Pink was, like you mentioned, one of their big ones. Crash, I thought, was a great one. Just did a nice job of bringing energy, and the tone and the texture of it reflected the title. The one called The Farm, I felt was like Steven Tyler channeling his inner David Lee Roth. It had kind of a DLR feel to it, the way he was singing.
It's an odd one. It really is.
It is.
It's not a terrible song. Like it's got a pretty good groove to it. But yeah, it's a little odd. Mr. Tyler's vocal stylings on that one. I'll grant you that.
Indeed. Yeah, Kiss Your Past Goodbye. I wrote Michael Cole, vintage Aerosmith ballad. So,
ouch.
Well, no, it doesn't mean it was bad, but it's just like there's just like these beats that they always hit, when it comes to certain ballads they do. And, hey, if the formula works, why fix it? But it's also a formula, so it's like it just kind of feels like I know it's coming next. You know what I mean? Like I know there's going to be dramatics and there's going to be Tyler singing his heart out, and it's everything I was expecting it to be, and then, Attitude Adjustment, again, had some good energy. I like Joe Perry's guitar, and then Fallen Angels was, again, typical Aerosmith ballad. So it was good. I mean, I don't know that I dislike, it's not that I dislike it. I just don't know, unlike Bare Naked Ladies last time, I think this one, I enjoyed it, but there were just some parts of it that just felt kind of repetitious and almost like, I've kind of been there, done that with Aerosmith. But that also could be a factor of them played for 40 years. It's like there comes a point where there's certain patterns that you just emulate because of that's your style. That's who you are. So I would say the first half really I got into it and really enjoyed it, and then the last half just kind of felt a little, and that's sometimes how these records go. They tend to put the stuff that maybe isn't as engaging or is a little more experimental kind of on the backside, so I kind of felt that like that's where they were a little bit there.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, good suggestion. It was, I have listened to Get a Grip. I've listened to other Aerosmith albums. This one, for some reason, just never seemed to make it onto my radar. So it was good to listen to it, and just kind of revisit those Aerosmith sort of themes and feelings that I remember from listening to prior albums.
Yeah. The funny part for me is I actually really dig kind of the middle section of this album, basically from really hole in my soul to Pink.
Okay.
With maybe taking out The Farm, like but I think the kind of the middle of this album is where I lived. Like the first two songs, like and the last two songs, honestly, they could have ditched Fallen Angels. They could have taken out if they had to take out a ballad, because I feel like it probably had one ballad too many.
Yeah.
Fallen Angels would definitely been my pick. Like, just that doesn't need to be there. It really doesn't. Attitude Adjustment, it's pretty cool, but it is kind of funny when you look at these albums that are not really highly regarded. They both have huge singles on them. I believe if I wasn't misreading it, Sour Girl is actually Stone Temple Pilots' best selling single.
Really? Because I would have thought Interstate Love Song was their biggest. I felt that was.
I think it's because at that point they were big enough that they were hitting more of a mainstream audience. But anyways, I could be wrong on that. I'll see if I can double check my math. But it was a very big single for him, and Pink was a huge single for Aerosmith, which was funny because it was actually the second single that they released off there. Fallen in Love is Hard on the Knees was the first single, which I'm like, I'm not really sure what the thought there was, but okay. But it is kind of a prototypical Aerosmith song, so it's like, maybe we'll catch something there. It's no Dude Looks Like a Lady, but we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So what would you say is your favorite song on Nine Lives?
Well, if you couldn't tell from me blathering on about it, I really like Taste of India. I thought that one brought the energy. Being a bass player, I really kind of gravitated toward the drum and bass feel that seems to be emphasized in it. I thought it had a great texture and thematic that went with the title. I think they incorporated elements of what you would think of as maybe Indian music into what they were doing, and wove it into a rock song that I thought really had a good drive to it. Not picking this one necessarily because of the lyrics, but it was just more just musically I really enjoyed it. I think musically it really just had and that's really that's kind of the theme for me with number 4 from Stone Temple Pilots was the drive and the energy of it. Like that's sitting in a car on a long drive, especially at the end of a work day, and not that you're battling to stay awake, because it wasn't like I was that tired, but it just gave me fuel for what was like a 45-50 minute drive from where I worked to where I was living. And of course put me in the frame of mind because I was sharing an apartment with you, sir. So I had to get myself amped up for what awaited me with Madden and other, Duke Nukem and whatever else you had up your sleeve that you'd been practicing that afternoon. So
that's true. I was usually lying in wait.
So that that's kind of the big thing for me with rock is just certainly if you can hit the trifecta with lyrics and music and just dynamics, then I'm sold on it. This one had definitely the dynamics and the music to it, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I would go Taste of India. What about you, sir?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to make a quick comment on that. So Taste of India is a good choice because there is a lot of Indian music flavor throughout the album. And to the point where the previous title for the album was called Vindaloo. And then after they finished the song Nine Lives, they thought that was actually a better title. And also considering some of the excursions that they had in making the album, because when they made the album, I guess they began working with Glenn Ballard, who was the producer and kind of co-songwriter with Alanis Morissette on Jagged Little Pill.
Oh, okay.
And they started working with him, and he also worked on did great work on Jagged Little Pill, and then after that became a bit reviled for trying to take bands in directions that the fans were like, no, we don't like that, because he also worked with Dave Matthews when they were doing Everyday, which is one of the least favorite for DMB fans. That is one of their at least maybe it's changed, but at the time I remember that being reviled almost universally by a lot of Dave Matthews Band fans.
Oh, interesting.
And then he also worked with Aerosmith, and it didn't quite take. I think they took some of what he did and he worked on a few of these songs, and then they started working different directions. But one of the things that was very odd about this was Joey Kramer was not present for a lot of the early recording sessions. He was having a very tough time emotionally, mourning the death of his father, which had happened a couple of years before, and was still having a really tough time and could not be with the band. Was still working through a lot of stuff. So they actually brought in another drummer, and he was tracking with them. And at some point, it's like, oh, the band's going to break up because they've brought in a new drummer. They're switching things around. And eventually he was able to come, Joey Kramer was able to come back. And instead of having him kind of, okay, well, just record what this guy played, they basically just started the songs from scratch and completely redid it. So it was this kind of, it was a real snake bitten kind of journey to get to the finished product.
Oh, interesting.
And so to your question, for me, favorite song off of number 4, I'd probably have to go Sour Girl. I mean, Atlanta's good. If I had to pick one of the two, I'd probably go Sour Girl, because I feel like it's probably the best example of almost like their Black Crowes Talks to Angels song. Like it's probably the most kind of tender, emotional song that they wrote, and probably was never to be duplicated. And the shame for a band like Black Crowes is that was off their first album, and never quite caught that again.
Yeah.
But then so the funny part is it makes me think of Stephen King and his book On Writing, where he talked about The Stand and how it's one of his fans regarded as one of his best works, and it's a little weird, and he's writing this in like early 2000s. He says it's kind of weird to realize that most of your fans think you did your best work like 20 years ago. I was like, yeah, that's got to sting a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the royalty checks make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably go with Sour Girl as my favorite.
All right. Very nice.
What was your least favorite song on Nine Lives?
I'm actually going to go with Ain't That a Bizotch.
Oh, see, that's actually one of my favorite songs off of there.
Really? I thought the intro was odd. I thought Steven Tyler was really straining his vocal range on it. It just, I don't know. I didn't like it. It was a very oddly styled song, and I just really struggled to engage with it in a way that I could enjoy it. So yeah, I was kind of like, this is a little too, I mean, don't get me wrong, because as we've discussed other things in the past, I am all for artists stretching beyond their borders and trying new things. So it's not that, but I did not feel all the pieces came together in this one, for me at least. Yeah.
And I say that because that was in this kind of never realized story / movie thing that I had in my head as a college kid who thought I knew what angst was, and now realized you didn't know anything, kid.
Angst is my bad back now.
Yeah. That's actually how I put it. My back is a little angsty today. But that was like one of this. I was like, this is the centerpiece of the movie. Like there was this whole thing that was going to take place in that. But yeah, it's, it's not my favorite song off of the album, but it would be, it'd be in the top 5. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So what would you say was your biggest surprise?
Wait. What was your least favorite?
My least favorite. It's tough for me to actually say, because I really do feel like a lot of the other songs were just kind of very generic. I would probably have to go, what is it? Pruno?
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Mostly because that felt like they were trying to mix Tool and Stone Temple Pilots. Like a little bit of that, the odd sort of feel to the meter. I mean, I know they didn't do anything weird like Tool does, because they just are weird cats when it comes to time signatures and doing weird things rhythmically. But it felt like they were trying to do a little bit of that, and I was like, no, this don't work. It don't work.
All right,
yeah. So that would be my least.
Okay. What about biggest surprise?
I'd probably say Atlanta.
Okay.
It kind of caught me at the end. Like I thought it was good. At that point I was kind of expecting, like, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that as the last song. So it was kind of a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. I don't know what, and it's funny because I think both of us had similar experiences with each of these albums, which is why we recommended it to the other. But it's funny how your experience doesn't necessarily equate to what other people experience. You know what I mean? Like there's certainly, and I think you said this in the beginning, it's something about the point in time of life that you're in, and your sensibilities and kind of like what you're thinking and feeling. And the strangest thing, like one of the reasons why I gravitate to this album once in a while is I remember the first time I heard it. Like I can remember where I was when I heard Atlanta because I was blown away by his voice and just the style of the song from that band. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like a standard Stone Temple Pilots song. You know what I mean?
No. At a couple times in this album, they do a fair job of impersonating a little bit of a country-ish band, but not a great country band, but like a country band you'd walk into in like a dive bar, you know, that you're not paying a cover to see them. They're there, they're getting paid, you know, in beer or whatever, like that sort of country band, which is, I mean, that's not really a knock on them because that's not who they are. So for them to be able to kind of stretch in that area is cool. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like there are certain things that get etched into your mind
because they hit you a certain way, you know?
Yeah. And it's just, well, and it hits you at that time in a certain way, and then it just crystallizes and it's just there forever. And you're like, I can't take you there because the only place that still exists is in my head.
Yeah.
All of that, everything has changed since then. You know, but I still have this moment that's like hermetically sealed in my brain of this thing. Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Yeah. I think my biggest surprise, let me see. What did I put? Oh, great. I didn't put anything down. Well,
nothing surprised you.
I try to make notes so I'm not doing stuff like this while we're talking on the fly. But I think I got to go with Something's Gotta Give. I just thought it was an interesting, I love the intro to it guitar wise. I thought it had great energy. I love, when Steven Tyler works the harmonica in, just gives it a nice kind of bluesy feel. And I just thought it was a really, well done song that wasn't a hit off the album, but it was either that or Full Circle. Like I really thought Full Circle was kind of funny because in my notes I wrote, it starts out sounding like a Leonard Skinner, Tuesday's Gone kind of song. They do the typical Aerosmith harmonization, but then I felt like it was like sliding into an Irish drinking song. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. A little Leonard Skinner with a little Irish in it. So
that is totally a lift up your glass and you're swinging it around. And if you haven't taken enough Guinness out of it, you're sloshing it onto the people next to you,
exactly.
But they don't notice because they're plowed and everyone's just sweaty. And it's back in the day when you could still smoke in bars. So hardly anyone can breathe. And so you're just like, you're shortening your life with every breath that you take of secondhand smoke. And somehow you're getting like third hand smoke, like it's going from one lung into the other and then it comes out. Oh yeah. You wake up in the morning, you're like, did I take up smoking last night? Because I feel like a carton of Marlboro Reds now live inside of my lungs and I might cough up a butt at some point. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that is probably my favorite song off the album, is Full Circle. Yeah,
I'll kind of go with both of those as my biggest surprise. I just think it was just a nice weaving of different styles in and just had their own kind of unique flavor to them and just thought it was just enjoyable to listen to. So yeah, I'll be indecisive and not pick one, but just say Full Circle and Something's Gotta Give.
I'll allow it.
All right.
So on a scale of 1 to 5, would you recommend Aerosmith's 9 Lives to a friend?
With 1 being no recommendation and 5 being a high recommendation?
Yes.
I'm actually going to go middle of the road 3 on this one. I enjoyed it, but it's something that I would recommend if they're looking to kill some time and want to hear Aerosmith just in general. I don't know that it's representative of Aerosmith, though. I feel like it's a little bit, them kind of stretching outside of, a little bit of them stretching outside of their comfort zone, but it's got a lot of kind of, as Michael Cole would say, vintage Aerosmith in terms of the ballads. And there was a lot of ballads on this one too. There was like 3 or 4, I thought. So I would go middle of the road 3 on this one. I don't think it's one that I would not recommend, but it's also something that I'd have to go deep recommending it to someone.
Yeah, this was kind of the third coming or going, however you want to put it, of Aerosmith, where of course the 70s Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic, all of that was that's vintage Aerosmith. Walk This Way, Sweet Emotion, Dream On, can't beat it. before Steven Tyler blew out his voice the first time.
Yeah.
And then you have the comeback Aerosmith, which is, Permanent Vacation and Pump, kind of followed by somewhere in there they did Unplugged. And then you have this third kind of gasp of Aerosmith after Armageddon.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Right.
Right. And so they got that song, and then you have Get a Grip, which had a couple of really big songs on it because, of course, they had the videos with Liv Tyler and Alicia Silverstone.
Right,
they had them in two of the videos. That was huge. And I mean, and it's not just about that, but to go back to Stone Temple Pilots, they attribute a lot of Sour Girls commercial success to the fact that Sarah Michelle Gellar was in the video. At that time, MTV was still kind of a thing. Whereas now, I mean, people are like, oh, MTV, that's where they have the Real World marathons. Like, yeah, and they used to have music. So, that didn't hurt. And then this kind of came on the heels of Get a Grip. So then it's sort of like the slide downward, and Pink was, I'm pretty sure Pink is their last commercial single that made, any kind of huge noise. I'm sure they have other stuff that you can say, oh, well, that topped the chart for like a week. That's great. But, Pink was a chart topper for multiple weeks. It was huge and all that. So, yeah, but I can definitely understand. I can definitely understand that recommendation. Totally.
And what about you, sir? 1 to 5, what is your recommendation?
I'm going to give 2 recommendations. Because I feel that there are 2 ways that you can listen to this. One is like just a standard, like, do you want some music to listen to? Do you want active listening, something that you're going to actively listen to? If that's the case, if you want to really listen to it and to hear the performance, and you want to sit there with your headphones on and focus on the music, I recommend this as like a 1.5.
What? Oh my gosh.
Because okay, you know what? Forget the half. I'll give it a 2 because I feel if you were because when I was listening to this just to listen to it, and I was really trying to actively listen to it, I got bored real quick.
Really?
Because it doesn't take more than a couple songs before you're like, okay, I feel like I've kind of heard all the tricks this pony's got. And there was a stretch in between some of those songs where it took a while to get to Sour Girl. And yeah, those songs had some variations, but they kind of wore out their welcome after a while. Like it's not like an epic guitar solo to really pull you out of it. And after a while, you kind of get tired of Scott Weiland doing Scott Weiland things if that's not your thing. Now, if I were to say, is this a great album to kind of like have on in the car as you're driving, and you're not necessarily 100% active listening because you're guiding a several ton piece of metal down the road, or you're listening to it at the gym or something like that, I would actually give it probably a 4 because, there is energy to it. And if you're not really paying attention enough to pick it apart or to notice some of the things that are kind of maybe generic or repetitive, yeah, then it's a fun listen. It's not like it's there forever. It's 42 minutes long. It's pretty quick, and you move on to what's next.
Wow.
I mean, I guess it averages out to about where you're at. It averages out to, it's an average listen. It's kind of right down the middle. But
what was your recommendation for if you're just driving? I don't think you gave a number. I think you just described.
A 4. I would give it a 4. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, for passive listening and kind of just like something on the background, or I want something kind of heavy to lift to, or at the gym. Like, yeah, you pull out 3 songs, add in a couple more, boom, you got yourself a nice little 50-minute workout. Boom, you're done.
All right.
But to really sit there and listen to it, especially considering that we are past that time in music, it's not a masterpiece, and there's certain things that genres or bands or whatever that if you're not listening to it in the moment, it's not going to catch you the same way. Sort of like you say, listening to an Aerosmith album for really the first time in your mid 40s, you're like, yeah, these lyrics, I can only hear about chasing tails so much before it's like, okay, Steve, got a wife, 2 kids, and a mortgage. You're not really speaking to me, shall we say?
I'm not relating,
and that's a good thing because that means you've actually got a healthy life.
I don't relate,
but back in when you're like 19, 20, 21, I mean, that's where it's going to hit you. So it's that same thing, just with Stone Temple Pilots for me.
Right.
So there you have it. We were kind of close on our ratings last time, and if you average out mine, we're pretty much right on the same this time too.
Yeah, I would agree. And another thing.
So, what do you got for and another thing this week?
So my and another thing, pleasant surprise. I went out this past Friday with my wife to a little film called Belfast that was made by Kenneth Branagh. Is meant to be a semi-autobiographical film from his childhood growing up in Belfast in the midst of the starts to some of the rioting that was occurring there. And, you know, basically a story from the perspective of the young protagonist, who is a small boy known as Buddy. And basically, it's really a great story. Thought it was really nicely done. It was shot in many ways like an artsy kind of movie, you know, where you have a lot of close-ups on faces, and you know, there's a shot in the beginning and at the end of modern day Belfast, and it's all in color. And then when the story starts, it's all in black and white. And basically just, you know, kind of telling the story and having this theme throughout about, there's this great scene where he and his brother go to church, and there's this, like, you know, raving priest who's talking about, you know, the narrow and winding road that's less traveled versus the easy road that, you know, the easy and wide road that's traveled, and kind of that decision point of, you know, figuring out where to go, and kind of the struggle that his family has in terms of staying where they're comfortable in Belfast, weighing it against, you know, their sons being impacted by the violence that's starting to happen in the city, and just that kind of that tug of war that's going on there. And so I thought it was a really well done story. Thought the message was great, you know, especially given the divisive climate that we're in today, and especially at the end, Buddy's father had some really good lines to kind of summarize some things and really get you to think a little bit. So I thought it was a really well done movie, and would highly recommend it if you're looking for something kind of like this episode where we talked about a couple albums that were a little bit off the beaten path. This film is not by any stretch of the imagination Avengers Endgame level, but it is something for the mind to chew on a little bit, and done in a very entertaining and deep way. So I would recommend the movie Belfast if you can see it.
Excellent.
And you, sir, what would you recommend, or what is your and another thing?
Well, so a little bit different because not a book, movie, or music recommendation. We are getting towards the end of the year. And of course, that means that the odometer is going to click over. We're going to be in 2022 before we freaking know it.
Are you doing your taxes already?
No. We that's a whole other story for another episode. I don't need to get into that right now.
Free Range Idiocy does your finances.
Yeah. Hey.
If you really want to see the idiots at play, watch that one, baby.
Patrick, just keep your eyes over. No. You think you're going to report me to the IRS? Let me know. I know who's been cheating on his 1040 easy for the past 6 months. Yeah.
I'm going to keep those receipts.
Yeah. Anyways, so we are going to be in the beginning of a new year, which means people are going to be making resolutions left, right, and center, and the gym is going to be packed for at least 3 weeks with people who are going to turn their life around. My advice is has a little bit to do with that, and my advice is just start now. Do it, and do it now. Beat the rush. But when you're going to do it, my recommendation is invest in a personal trainer, especially if you're someone like me. I've never been a gym rat. I've never been someone whose natural inclination is to go and lift heavy things. I've had jobs where I get paid to do that, but as far as paying someone else to do that, it just never quite made sense to me. It's like, so wait a minute, I pay you, and then I do all the work. This is like the worst MLM scheme ever.
The MLM. I love it.
So when I made the decision to go and start lifting, and I've kind of always tried to keep a bit of a physical fitness regime, kind of a plateau or a base of cardio and things like that, which has helped me at least not jellify, I guess you could say, at a certain level, considering my poor eating habits.
Uncle Todd may not be a master of the maths, but the articulation and verbiage, top notch, my friend. Well done,
dude.
Well done.
With the crap that I eat, it's amazing. I'm
Jellify.
just not the blob.
I love that.
Yeah, for me, I needed that explanation. I need someone to hold my hand and show me, okay, how do I do this thing? How do I do this, and how do I do it so I don't hurt myself? Because the thing is, and I don't know how many people know this or don't know this, but like at a certain point, you're losing muscle every year. unless you're doing something to actively counteract it. And that kind of hit me this past year. I was like, okay, I need to do this. I can't keep talking about it. I need to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I invested in a personal trainer, and just go in and talking with a trainer about what I wanted to do. What were my goals? Mm-hmm. It made me actually have to think about what my goals are, And so I'm 45 years old. My goal wasn't, dude, I want to be ripped. Like, probably not going to happen. If it does, great. If not, I'm not going to worry about it.
Wait. So you didn't go in there and be like, let me tell you something, brother.
No. And they didn't hand me steroids right away like they did back in like mid 80s WWF locker room.
42.
Here's your contract. And here is your anabolic steroids regime. But going in and doing all that, it made me think about what are my goals? Like, okay, I just want to be overall fit. Yeah, I want to lose some weight, but I want an overall level of fitness. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to gain like upper body strength because I've never had upper body strength. And I want to be overall physically fit. And I also wanted to do something I wanted to gain fitness to avoid injuring myself, because I've hurt my back and all this. And so working with a trainer, she was able to work out a program for me to start out, was there to watch my progress and to push me, because I needed that, because I need someone there to tell me like, no, you can do this. You're doing it right. Your form is good. And to kind of reassure me, like, you're not going to break yourself. Mm-hmm. And so gaining that confidence has been great. And you look at how much a trainer costs, and it's not cheap. Right. But it's also, you have to look at it as an investment in yourself.
Yeah.
And how many times do you say, oh, I'll go out to eat and I'll do this and I'll do that. Take some of that money and put it towards this. And it's a much better investment in yourself.
Yeah.
Why not spend it doing something that will get you into a habit that will pay dividends for you physically and emotionally down the line?
Indeed.
So that's my recommendation. If you're going back to the gym and you're like me and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing and it's scary, partly because you're like, I don't know what I do, so I'm going to hurt myself. And the other part is because I don't want to be the person walking around tapping people on the shoulder going, how do you use this machine? And you definitely don't want to be the people that, get posted on social media using the machine wrong. And someone's there with their phone going, oh my God, what the hell is this person doing? Invest in a personal trainer, invest in that. And then, now I don't have a personal trainer every time I still have her write the program and I work with her occasionally, but now I'm kind of on my own. I'm self-sufficient, and it's helped me to gain confidence to do that. Like, I walk into the gym now and I'm not as concerned of everybody going, oh boy, look at this guy's here. Oh, geez. Get out of his way. He's going to hurt himself, and just don't get hurt by him.
Here comes co-host of one of the biggest, never mind.
Yeah, no, they never say that. Ever. But that's my recommendation to you peoples.
Very nice.
Invest in yourself.
And I will 100% back you up on that one, just through personal experience of my own. Pre-COVID, I had a personal trainer that I was meeting with twice a week. And the gentleman made a massive difference in helping me understand what I needed to be doing. And it was fantastic. So I will not replicate what you have just said, but I will 100% concur and back you up on that theme of the investment that you need to put into yourself, and the fact that especially when you hook up with someone who really is trying to help you, like you said, achieve those goals and teach you and mentor you and things like that, that's huge. So definitely worth the investment, 100%.
Yes, indeed. Well, folks, it's about time for us to, close up this traveling roadshow of idiocy and head off into the sunset.
Listening to Aerosmith and STP as we travel.
We're gonna pack up our snake oil and take it on to the next town. That's what we're gonna do. This little caravan of curmudgeonly stupidity is heading out.
Indeed.
We would like to first of all, though, thank all of our listeners, all the members of the Free Range Idiocy congregation, for gathering together, for reading from the holy scriptures of idiocy, because we believe in many things, mostly because, we'll believe most anything because we're idiots. We're kind of naive and easy to fool.
Did you hear that?
Just ask the people around us, and they'll go, "Yep, they're pretty gullible." Mm-hmm. But we do believe in redemption through the power of idiocy, because quite honestly, it's our only chance. So we're banking on that, and time will tell how that works out for us. But You don't have to do that necessarily. You can just listen to the podcast and enjoy it and go, yeah, there are a couple chuckleheads. And if you want to do that, you want to go to freerangeidiocy.com and you'll find all of our episodes there. You can subscribe right through there, or you can find us at the podcast purveyor of your choice, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, any number of different podcast purveyors. Ask for us by name, as they used to say back in the day. How back in the day, I don't remember, but it was a long time ago, all right? I've already had enough old jokes.
Or score, and never mind.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you want some extra points in the Free Range Idiocy congregation /MLM, if you want to level up, you can find us on the social medias and like us on all of those places and retweet us and repost us and whatever it is that you do on Instagram. I don't know. I just started using stories a couple weeks ago. That's how freaking ancient I am. Like, what is this stuff here? But you can find us on Twitters. We're on the Facebooks. We're on the Instagrams. All of those are at Free Range Idiocy. And if you have a question, a thought, a concern, again, if you'd like to, lobby on my behalf for the Eternals Real and Jabroni that just happened last episode, maybe raise a few points and kind of back me up on that. Maybe I can close the gap on Tim a little bit. I know I'm not winning, but if you just make it a little bit more of an honorable defeat. That's all I'm asking. Just get me within sniffing distance. I'm what, Boo Boo? What, we're doing Yogi Bear now? Boo Boo. Oh, we are so easily distracted. It's not even funny. But anyways, if you have questions, thoughts, concerns, you want to lobby on my behalf, you send those to Tim at freerangeidiocy.com. And the man they call Tim, well, he'll be right back to you post haste, PDQ, ASAP, VIP, something, another abbreviation. I don't know. I will
not procrastinate as I navigate the feedback that is sent to me. I will read and I will participate in the.
Are you sure you're going to read? Because you're having an awful hard time speaking. I'm starting to wonder.
Actually,
wasn't it a couple episodes ago? You couldn't read anything, and I thought I was dealing with an illiterate co-host.
Well, I was basically operating without a list of words that end in ATE and just sounding silly as I did it. So.
I got you. Oh yeah, and that was the episode you had a couple nips and Uncle Nearest before.
Yeah,
before the show started.
I blame the Uncle Nearest. So,
well, anyways, but now we come to the point in time where my portion of the show is done, so I'm going to kick back and relax because I can't screw anything up now. Hey. But it is the point when we need to ask the second most important question humankind has ever asked. The first, of course, being what is hip. The second being, the hell did we learn?
We have learned the following, my friend. We have learned Uncle Todd, once he applies himself to fantasy football, he can actually generate some wins. And so
there's no application. It's just sheer dumb luck, and it's going to go away just as quickly as it came. I'm telling you right now, that 84 points, he's going to be down to a solid 12 come playoff time.
I was going to say that, this week, Jonathan Taylor, mark him down, 75 fantasy points.
Yeah. When he's just like, it's going to be, my fantasy team is just like Roger Clemens back in the day. When you need him the least, you can count on him the most.
Oh my gosh. And, the man they call Tim, once again, making his opponent capitulate, suffocate, and it is resonating throughout the league. So, ladies and gentlemen, still in first. With a firm grip, a headlock, if you will, on the top spot.
This rhyming makes me want to defecate.
Looking forward to Spider-Man No Way Home, and looking forward to the Ahsoka series, especially with the announcement of some of the characters that we've only seen in animated form kind of coming to life. What will be very, very interesting to see in the form of Sabine Wren. So we will be looking forward to that, as will the Star Wars universe. We'll report back next episode, ladies and gentlemen, on our culinary chicanery. Uncle Todd and the man they call Tim lighting up the fire-producing implements to cook some turkey. We will report back and determine not the real or the jabroni, but who actually had a meal and who blew it up. So.
No, I'll wait. I'll let you know after I wake up from the coma. It might be up by the time we record next.
Uncle Todd will be, just laying on the kitchen floor with bacon wrappers and, just all sorts of stuff over him. Just like, what happened?
Yeah, that'll be drinking like a gravy milkshake when we're recording our next episode.
And as we discussed, STP and Stone Temple Pilots and Aerosmith, do check them out.
Maybe not these albums, but
bands. That's why I was stuttering a little bit. It's like, we put forth a couple albums that are off the beaten path. Given all that was said, do check them out nonetheless. You might get a little something out of them. Not everyone can be a winner. So
wow, way to sell that one. Thank you, Tim.
Well, hey, we had a solid 3 from both of us on these. So, it's
Good point.
You might win, you might lose.
All right.
But do
fair
check
enough.
them. With all that being said, especially want to once again, just reiterate the thanks as we enter the Thanksgiving season for the downloads. We appreciate our last episode inching forward beyond the 20 mark. We very much appreciate that. We're over 2,300 downloads and still rising. So we thank you for the support and for the listens. And with all that being said, be safe, be healthy, be kind, be good to one another. Remember to be thankful. A lot to be thankful for, and we have to take a moment and kind of think about it a little bit, as opposed to letting all the stuff swirling around us distract us from that. So take some time this week and be a little bit thankful.
Mm-hmm.
But as we say that, and as Patrick has brought to our attention, the power bill is running a little high. So as we like to always close out, please, just for the sake of the business, and so Patrick doesn't have to carry that one, would you please hit the lights on the way out?
It's like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
So, Patrick,
here we go.
What happened? So you did go to the McDonald's next door.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell because you got that French fry sticking out your ear. Well, the handprint on the other cheek did kind of give it away.
Did he walk through the drive-thru again?
No. What? Dude, I told you not to make fun of her peg leg.
Oh,
I told you.
Geez.
Woman's she's got a peg leg and an eye patch. I told you not to make fun of her.
Oh, boy.
First of all, it ain't polite. Second of all, she's got about 1.5 feet on you. No, I wouldn't mess around with her.
Oh, my gosh.
I'd mess around with Shayna Baszler before I'd mess around with her. F around and find out. That's what's going to happen.
Now get the hell out of here!